Welcome back to another project. In this project, we are going to create a rotating image gallery. As you can see from the final version of the project, we have a rotating gallery that is changing every, for example, 3 seconds. And also we have two buttons here. So when we click on the next button, we go to the next image. And when we click on the previous button, we go to the previous image. We are going to use JavaScript to dynamically change the images by using timers and also add event listeners for these buttons. And also we are going to use the transform method of CSS to rotate these images like this. In the next section, we're going to start with the HTML part of our project. So see you in the next section. All right, let's start our project. First, we open the Visual Studio Code. And here we close the Get Started tab. In the File menu, we click on the Open folder. I would like to create the project in my desktop, but you can create it anywhere you like in your computer. So here we click on the desktop, and here we click on the New Folder button to create a new folder. We name the folder, for example, Rotating Image Gallery. And we press Enter to accept the name. And here we click on the Select Folder button to select the folder. We close the Get Started tab again, and here on the left, in the Explorer section, we right-click and we click on the new file. We name the file index.html, and we press Enter. Now we have our index.html file on the right side, which is completely empty, but we can use an exclamation mark to create an HTML5 boilerplate. So we write an exclamation mark and we click on the first auto suggestion. Now we have our HTML5 boilerplate, and the first line is doc type, which tells the browser which version of HTML the page is written in. In our case, as we are using HTML5, we just need to have HTML here. Then we have the HTML tag, which is the top level element inside the HTML file. The head and the body tags are inside the HTML tag. The lang attribute inside the opening HTML tag sets the language of the page. And in our case, we set the language to be English. Then we have the head tag, which includes 3 metadata tags and also a title tag. The charset attribute inside the first metadata tag defines the HTML character encoding, and UTF-8 is recommended by HTML5 for all web developers because it nearly contains all the characters and symbols. The next metadata attribute tells the Internet Explorer browser to use the most recent rendering engine, which is Edge. The viewport metadata tells the browser on how to resize the page. Let's use Alt-C to turn on the word wrap so we can see all the codes. And here, the content attributes firstly sets the page's width to device's screen's width, and then it initializes the zoom level of the browser to be 100%. The title tag actually sets the title of the page. In order to see the browser inside the Visual Studio Code, we can use the Live Preview extension, and we just need to right-click in the index.html file, and we click on the Live Preview Show Preview. Now we can see the browser on the right side, which is completely empty, but with the title document. Let's close this Explorer section by dragging this line to the left so we have more space on the right side. And let's change the title of the browser to our project's name. The project's name was Rotating Image Gallery. Now, after that, we start coding inside the body section. First, we create a container for the images. So we create a div with a class of image container. We press Enter to accept the auto suggestion. And inside this div, we add 8 images, but we put the images inside a span tag because we want to rotate them using transform property later inside CSS. For first spam, the style would be --i equal to 1. This one is actually, we are defining the variable for each spam, and the variable is I, and we set the first one to be 1. In this case, we can rotate each image 45 degrees later using CSS, and each image would be different because they have different variable number and amount. Inside this spam, we add an image tag, and the src would be an external image. In this project, I would like to use a website called Lorem Pixum to get the images. So we go back to desktop and we click on the Google Chrome. And here in the search bar, we search Lorem Pixum. In the search result, we see a website called lorempixum.photos. So we click on this website. This is actually a website that gets all its images from unsplash.com website. But in order to get the images, we don't need to have any codes or any API key or sign up. As you can see from here, we can get a specific image by adding id/image. So here we have https pixum.photos/id, and the ID is 237 for this dog page, dog picture. Then the 200 and 300 is the height and the width of the image. So we copy this and we go back to Visual Studio Code and we paste it inside the src of the image. Now we can see the dog in our browser, but I want it to be with 300 and 200 opposite. So we have this form of image in our browser. We don't need the alt for this project, and we just need to copy this spam and the image inside it 7 more times using Alt-Shift-Arrow down. Just say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And we change the ID of the style of the second one to 2. And also we can change the ID of the image to get another random image. But this image would be always the similar when we refresh the page. So it's a static image. So we change the number, for example, to 23. As you can see, the next one. The third one would be 3 for the style. And we set another random number, for example, 48. We can see here. This one would be 4. This one, we just say, for example, 97. But there's no image with this number. We just change it to 23, for example. Oh, we already used 23, so 12. And then the next one is 5. The number would be, for example, 59. Then we have 6. 6 is here. And then we have the number, for example, 160. We got this font image. Then we have 7. This one, 370. And this, the last one, 8. And the picture, we just say 478. All right. This is just a random image we got from this website. You can use any website you like and any image you like in your own project. So let's continue for our own projects. And after this div with the class of image container, we have another div with the class of button container, because we want to have 2 buttons at the bottom to go to the next and the previous images using these buttons. So we just have a div with a class of btn container. And inside this div, we have 2 buttons. The first one has the class of btn and also an ID of prev for previews. And inside this button, we just write prev. We press enter to accept the auto suggestion. And here we have the button with the class of btn and ID of prev. We copy this button and we just change this to next, and this one to next as well. Yeah, that was it for the HTML part of our project. in the next section, we're going to start styling our project using CSS. So see you in the next section. All right, in the last section, we have finished with the HTML part of our project. In this section, we're going to start styling our project using CSS. First, we need to create a CSS file. So here in the index.html, we click here and we open the Explorer section using Ctrl-Shift-E. And on the left side in the Explorer section, we right click and we click on the new file. We name the file style.css and we press enter. Before using CSS in our project, we must add a link to the CSS file within the HTML code. So we switch to index.html file, and just after the title tag, we add a link tag. We just write link and we click on the third auto suggestion, the one with the CSS. Now we have a link tag with the relationship between the HTML file and the external style sheet. The href attribute here defines the destination of the link, and as both files are located at the same directory, we just need to write style.css for the URL. Now we can install our project using CSS. First, we save the file using Ctrl-S. We close this Explorer section to have more space on the left side, and we go to style.css and we start styling from the body section. We just write body. We open a set of curly braces, and first we remove this default margin and we just write margin 0. Then let's bring the items to the center horizontally by changing the display to flex and use justify. As you can see, when we change the display to flex, the buttons came next to the pictures, but we want the buttons to be after the pictures. So we change the flex direction to column to bring the buttons to the bottom of the page. Now we can use align item center to bring the buttons to the center, and also text align center to bring the pictures to the center. And also we want to bring everything to the center vertically as well. So we need to set the height to be 100% of the viewport height. And then we change the justify content center to bring everything to the center vertically. And also let's change the background color to be black. And let's remove these scroll bars using overflow hidden. All right. Now you can not see the buttons, but when we install the image container and its images, we're going to bring the images next to each other so we can see the buttons later on. So we go to the next section for styling and we install image.container div, which covers all the images of our project. So here we target that div by using dot and we just write image-container and we open a set of curly braces. Let's set the width to be 200 pixels and we set the height to be 200 pixels as well. And let's change the transform style to preserve 3D because we want to have a 3D effects on the images. And we change the transform. We use the transform property and we use the perspective function and we set the perspective to 1000 pixels. Later, I'm going to explain why I choose 1000, but you cannot see it now. But later, we're going to change it and see the effects on the browser. First, we need to install the images and everything first to see the effects of this perspective. So next, we change the rotate Y and we set the angle to be 0 degree. We're going to see the effects as soon as we style the span and the image. Let's style the span first. So we target the image container and we set the span. We position it absolute, and in order to be absolute depending on its parent here, we should set the image container we set its position to relative. So the span would be position absolute in relative to image container. Then we set the top and left to 0. And also we set the transform here. We set the rotate Y. If you remember, we here for the style of a span, we put a variable and we set different variables, different number. For example, I is 1, 2, 3 to 8. So we're going to change the rotate Y depending on this variable amount. So here we calculate the degree by just using the variable we had here, I, and we multiply this to 45 degree. As you can see, we can see the changes in the pictures. So each picture is rotating 45 degree, and it's different from the other picture. For example, the first one is 45 degree, the second one is 90 degree, and so on. And also, if you wanted them to be in a circle, in a sphere form, we need to add translate Z, and we set it to be, for example, 400 pixels. Now if we open this in a browser, you can see it better. You can see that all the images are around each other. And if we style the image itself, this image here, the image tag, so we target that image tag by just say .image container, the span, and then the image. First, we position it absolute, and we bring it exactly to the center by setting the left and top to 0. And also we set the width to 100%. And if you go here, we forgot to do this span here for the width 100%. So we set this one to 100% as well. So now we can see that all images around each other and in a nice way. So in the next section, we're going to use JavaScript to rotate them automatically. But for now, we just first install these buttons. So we target the button container first. So we just say btn-container. And we set the position to be relative because we want to position each button to the left and right, later using position absolute. And we set the width to be 80%. And we set the justify content a space between. So we want them to be one in the left and one in the right side. Then we have each button, we position them absolute. As you can see, now they are on the top of each other, but it's fine. Later we're going to position them one by one. Actually, we didn't need this justify content because we are using positioning absolute to set the position of the buttons. So we bring this one a little bit down by using button minus 80 pixels. Then we can use the background color to change the color of the button. We set it to be slate blue. We change the color to be white. We remove the border using border none. We add some padding. We set the padding to be 10 pixels up and bottom and 20 pixels left and right. We add some border radius, for example, 5 pixels. And we change the cursor to be pointer. So when we hover over the buttons, we see a pointing hand. All right, let's change the color of the button when we hover over it. So we just say btn hover, and we add a filter. And the filter is brightness, and we want to brighten it 50% more. All right. After this, let's position each button. The left button has an ID of brief, and we set it to be in the left side 20%. We can see it here. And for the next one, we have next, and we set the right to be 20% as well. Now, if we change the size of the screen, we still see the buttons at the right and left. All right. In the next section, we are using JavaScript to change this gallery automatically, for example, every 3 seconds. And also we're going to use add event listener method to add an event handler to each button. So when we click on them, we go to the next or the previous image. So see you in the next section for the JavaScript part of our project. All right, in the last section, we have finished styling our project using CSS. In this section, we're going to start adding functionality to our project using JavaScript. First, we need to create a JavaScript file. So here we open the Explorer section using Ctrl-Shift-E. And on the left side, in the Explorer section, we right-click and we click on the new file. We name the file index.js and we press enter. Before using JavaScript in our project, we must add a link to the JavaScript file within the HTML code. So we switch back to index.html, and just at the end of the body section, we add a script tag. We just write SC and we click on the second auto-suggestion, the one with the src. As both files, index.html and the index.js are located at the same directory, we just need to have index.js for the URL. Now we can use JavaScript in our project. First, we save this file using Ctrl-S. We close this Explorer section, and the elements we need to bring to the JavaScript are 3 things. These 2 buttons and also this container, the image container. The reason we need this image container is we want to change this style inside the image container. This one, the transform perspective 1000 pixels and rotate Y 0 degree. Because by changing this number, we're going to change the image. For example, now it's 0. If we change it to 45, we go to the next image. And also if we change to 90, we go to the second one. So by changing this rotate Y function and its amounts from 0 to and a step-by-step 45 degree, we can change the images in the gallery. So we set it first to be 0, and we need to bring this one to the JavaScript. We can use query selector method to return this element, and also we can use get element by ID method to return these 2 buttons because they have an ID of prev and next. So inside JavaScript, we create a constant and we set it to be image container element. This is the name of the constant, and then we set it equal to document.query selector, and the CSS selector is .image container. We can use Alt-C to turn on the word wrap to see the code clearly. Then the next element is the left button or the prev. We just call it prev element, and we equal it to document.get element by ID, and the ID is prev. We copy this using Alt-Shift-Arrow down. We change this prev to next, and this one too to next. Now we are going to add event listener method to each buttons to track the click on them. And when we click on the next, we want to see the next image. And when we click on the previous button, we want to go back to the previous image. So first we add the add event listener to the previous one. We just say .add event listener. And the first parameter inside the add event listener is an event handler. And the event handler we want to use is click. And the second parameter is a callback function, which will be triggered when the event happens. When someone click on the button. So when this one happens, first we want to change that. Let's make a variable for this 0 and 45. So we call it x. We just say let equal x. Let x. First we equal it to 0. And when someone click in the back, we want to change this to x equal x plus 45. So we want to add 45 degree to the x, and After that, we want to update the gallery. So we create a function called update gallery. And here we create the function. We just write function update gallery. We open a set of parentheses and a set of curly braces. And the gallery, the update gallery function, the things it does is change the style of this transform property here, this transform property. So we target that. We just say image container element dot style dot transform, and we equal this to this one is a style is equal to, we want to add this variable, so we add a backtick to be able to add variables, and we just write perspective. And this one is constant. We just set it to be 1000 pixels, and we change the rotate y. Instead of just 0 degree, we just add a function here. Sorry, we add a variable here by using $sign and a set of curly braces. And after that is degree. So this one is X. So when we click on the previews, we can change this one. So first we check rotate Y perspective. This is wrong perspective. And also we write down here update wrongly. So we delete this extra A here. Now we click on the previews. We can see the previews image. Now let's add some transitions so we can see it more smooth. So we go back to stylus CSS, and here we add a transition on transform, and we set it to be 0.7 seconds. Now we see a transition between moving the images. Let's do the same things for the next button as well. So we copy this and we just change this prev to next, and this one instead of plus should be minus. So now we click on next, we see the next image, and here we see the previous one. Let's add some timer so we have some a slideshow as well. So here inside the gallery, we add a set timeout method. Set timeout method actually set a timer which executes a function after the timer expires. So we just write set timeout. Set timeout has two things. The first is the function that will be executed when the timer finishes, and the second parameter is the timer, and it's in milliseconds. So if we just write 3000, it means 3 seconds. So we want this set timeout call this function after 3 seconds, and we just want to go to the next one. So we change the x to x minus 45.2, and we call this update gallery. But before doing this one, first time we need to call this function to this loop starts. So we just call a function here. So now after 3 seconds, we see that the gallery is moving. But the problem is when we click on the next or previous button, we're going to call this function more, and we are setting too many set timeout at the same time, so which they are making problem in our project. So before calling the this function, we need to reset the set timeout. So we can just create a variable here. We call it set timeout, or we just say timer, and timer will be equal to this set timeout, and we're going to clear timeout, and the timeout we want to clear is this timer. So we copy and paste it here as well, and it should be before calling the function. Now when we click on the next or the previous, first we reset the set timeout, so it's not gonna interfere its normal work. Let's check it inside the browser. You can see here, refresh the page. Yeah, that was it for our project. I hope you enjoyed and learned many things. See you in the next project.